Oi. Testando. Olá, bom dia. Bom dia a todos e todes. Vamos dar início, então, ao último dia do Seminário de Proteção à Privacidade e aos Dados Pessoais. Meu nome é Fernanda Rodrigues, eu sou coordenadora de pesquisa e pesquisadora do Instituto de Referência em Internet e Sociedade, o IRIS, e também sou doutoranda em Direito, na UFMG, onde eu pesquiso, tenho um projeto sobre regulação da inteligência artificial, está em desenvolvimento. E para mim é uma honra estar aqui com vocês hoje. Queria agradecer imensamente ao CGI, ao NIC, pela oportunidade, principalmente na pessoa do Ramon, que me fez o convite. E vou dar início, então, a esse painel aqui. Nós estamos para discutir hoje proteção de dados e privacidade em tecnologias emergentes, desafios e estratégias globais. E, para começar, eu vou fazer uma breve apresentação da mini-bio da nossa debatedora, Raquel Saraiva, e da nossa speaker, nossa Keynote, a Ivana Bartoletti. Mas, antes, eu gostaria só de dar uma pincelada sobre esse tema, Não quero tomar muito tempo aqui, mas a gente tem visto muito hoje esse boom de tecnologias que cada vez mais vão se utilizando dos nossos dados, principalmente quando a gente está falando sobre inteligência artificial. A gente tem uma série de aplicativos aí que muitas vezes nos prometendo entregar foto dos possíveis filhos, enfim, para o futuro, acabam utilizando os nossos dados e armazenando, sabe-se lá por quanto tempo, porque muitas vezes a gente só aceita os termos de uso sem pensar. Então, hoje é para debater um pouco sobre isso e sobre como os nossos dados são utilizados por essas plataformas, como a gente pode lidar com isso e os desafios, principalmente diante de tecnologias como essa, que a gente chama de IA generativa, inteligência artificial generativa. Mas, para não tomar muito tempo, então, eu gostaria de apresentar a vocês a Ivana Bartoletti, que é a nossa Keynote. Ela é responsável global pela proteção de dados na Wipro, a empresa líder internacional em tecnologias da informação, consultoria e serviços de processos empresariais. É uma líder de pensamento reconhecida internacionalmente em questões de privacidade, proteção de dados e tecnologia responsável. É perita no Conselho Europeu. Foi recentemente autora de um estudo sobre o impacto da inteligência artificial na igualdade de gênero. Em fevereiro de 2023, foi nomeada como a primeira Executive Fellow em Cibersegurança e Privacidade no Pamplin College of Business, da Virginia Tech, onde colabora com o corpo docente e os estudantes de doutorado do Pamplin sobre privacidade, proteção de dados e novas tecnologias. É coeditora de AI Book, um manual para investidores, empresários e visionários de fintech, e é autora do livro An Artificial Revolution on Power, Politics and AI. É fundadora da influente rede Women Leading in AI, que reúne pensadoras, cientistas, acadêmicas, empresárias e políticas para influenciar o futuro da inteligência artificial à escala global. De 2020 a 2022, a Ivana foi bolsista visitante de política na Universidade de Oxford, onde se concentrou em promover o compartilhamento global de informações por meio do contexto de privacidade, segurança, proteção de dados e direitos humanos. É um prazer recebê-la aqui, Ivana. Antes de passar a ela, para ela fazer a fala, vou só apresentar a Raquel Saraiva, que é presidenta e fundadora do IPREC, o Instituto de Pesquisa em Direito e Tecnologia do Recife. É graduada em Direito pela Universidade Católica de Pernambuco e mestre em Ciência da Computação pela Universidade Federal de Pernambuco. No IPREC, ela atua na área de Privacidade e Vigilância, com foco no Observatório da Criptografia e no grupo de estudos sobre inteligência artificial, mas também se interessa por discussões sobre gênero e tecnologia. Obrigada, Raquel, por estar aqui com a gente. E aí, vou passar, então, a palavra para a Ivana, para ela poder fazer a sua fala, e depois a gente abre para debate, então.
Thank you so much. Before we start, can I just ask for the video?
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. It's me, Ella. Well, a digital version of me. Just a bit older. Amazing what technology can do these days, isn't it? All you need are a couple of pictures, like the ones you share on social media, where they can be taken and used by everybody. I know, for you, these pictures are just memories, but for others, they are data. And for me, maybe the beginning of a horrible future. A future where my identity can be stolen just like that. Where I can go to prison for things that I would never do. Imagine my credit score being destroyed, Dad. Or my voice copied to scam you, Mom.
Mom, I'm in trouble.
I need you to send me money, please. I don't want to become a meme, humiliated by everyone at school.
Kill yourself, you fucking loser.
And I certainly don't want this. What you share online is like a digital footprint that will follow me around for the rest of my life. I'm telling you this because I know you love me and would never do anything to harm me. So please, Mom, please, Dad, protect my virtual privacy.
Los colegas e amigos, eu estou feliz de estar aqui. I remember an interview a few years ago with Danilo Doneda. And he was saying at the time that although privacy was in the Constitution a fundamental right, Brazil was still without a law. And then you have the law. And just a few days ago, we had another country joining the club, a global level. India, becoming the last democracy to have a privacy legislation in place. Why am I saying this? Because privacy and data protection, until not long ago, were nowhere near the topic that it is today. And the brilliant discussion that you've been having over the last few days really shows how far we've all come in privacy. With so many countries around the world now having privacy laws, data protection laws, and with our job as privacy professionals becoming so crucial for companies as well as societies. I want to do two things in this talk and then in the discussion. That is what really matters the most. First, I want to talk about artificial intelligence. And I want to tell you, in my view, what changes for us as leaders within organizations, within companies, and what we need to do, and the challenges and the opportunities that we will have. And second, I want to talk to you about the future of our profession, of the privacy professionals and the privacy leaders that we need to become and that we are becoming. So these are the two things that I want to discuss with you. So I want to start very briefly with talking about what happened over the last few weeks since ChatGPT has made a huge splash in society, with 100 million people using ChatGPT all around the world. Now, information technology has already transformed the way that many tasks are performed. But something new confronted the world in November 2022. What happened? What's the big difference? What is that changed so much that over recent times we have seen so many people, including so many leaders for the same tech companies, telling us that artificial intelligence is going to lead to even to the extinction of humanity. We have seen so many warnings coming over recent months. And so many people in the media, in newspapers, in television, so many leaders, even the ones that developed this product themselves, telling us, be ready, there's a catastrophe about to come. These tones hasn't helped. Because these tones, these dramatic tones, they are taking us away from the risks that we know already. They're taking us away, they are portraying artificial intelligence as some sort of divinity. And it's part of a game in itself. Why am I saying this to you? Because we're privacy professionals. We know already what the risks of these technologies are. We are already at the forefront of this debate. We have been dealing, for example, with automated decision-making for a very long time. Whilst the world seems to be waking up now, we, privacy leaders, privacy professionals, we were already talking about automated decision-making for years. We've been already talking about the concept of fairness in automated decision-making. We know already that if you take data which is not neutral, which is society as it is now, and you put it into machines that make decisions, predictions about tomorrow, we knew already as privacy professionals that these decisions, these predictions would mirror the world as it is today. So we knew already that is no surprise if credit is given less to women than to men, because traditionally women earn less than men. We knew already about Compass used in the US, which automatically gave a higher degree of recidivism to black people than to white people, regardless of the crime that they have committed. And in the UK, where I used to live, we knew already in privacy that the quality of the data matter. When, during the A-levels, the exams, very important exams, that give you access to universities, students coming from private education automatically performed better than students coming from state education. Privacy professionals, we already knew about all this. We already knew that the data that you put into these machines matters. Because fairness is a key principle in privacy law. Data has to be fair in the processing and in the output. So we already know that our job as privacy leaders in our own organizations is to ensure that the quality of the data set is good. We already know that fairness in automated systems is not going to happen by default. Because if you just take the data as it is, it will just replicate what happens in society. And we have seen this over and over again. A few months ago, I asked ChatGPT, hey, tell me a story. ChatGPT, tell me a story about a boy and a girl who have been friends their entire life. And now they are in university, in school, in the last year of school, and they need to decide what subjects they're going to study. ChatGPT says, once upon a time, there were a boy and a girl, and they were talking about what to do in university. And the boy said, I am going to study engineering. And the girl said, I am going to study art because I do not understand numbers. That is ChatGPT. Why am I mentioning this story to you? Because we, privacy professionals, when we see the world talking about AI, we know that AI does not exist in isolation. We know that the things that we master every day, accuracy, fairness, transparency, explainability, interpretability, they matter to AI. And AI is no excuse to break the law. As Bodea, in the FTC commissioner in the US, said correctly. So when ChatGPT came up, the Italian commissioner, and the Italian, I say proudly because I'm originally from Italy and because Rodotà is from Italy, Italian regulators said, hey, we've got to talk. So the Italian regulator said, we need to talk about where the data comes from. We need to talk about security. We need to talk about how I, as a citizen, can have my data erased or amended from this tool. And ChatGPT, in what is the opposite of privacy by design, but is privacy by demand, they responded and said, made some changes. Why am I saying this to you? Because it's important to understand that AI has got huge potential. I'm a huge fan of generative AI and AI. And if I talk about the risks, it's not because I'm not a fan, it's because I'm so much of a fan that I want it to work for people and for society. So the reason why I'm saying this to you is because we privacy leaders, privacy professionals, we know very well that AI does not exist in isolation. We know very well that it's often been data protection authorities who have been standing up for citizens, for data subjects. For example, in a case, we had various cases about automated decision-making. And I recommend a book written by the Future Privacy Forum on automated decision-making and GDPR. And it's been the data protection authorities often saying, hey, the algorithm is not explainable, so the consent cannot be free. Or it's been, that happened in Italy, or it's been in the Fudinho case in Europe where the data protection authority said, hey, the data is not accurate. What I'm trying to say is that, and that's my first thing that I wanted to say to you, is we have to keep calm and strong as privacy professionals. And when the world is screaming about AI regulation, which is necessary, when the world is screaming about how AI is going to either solve all our problems or create a total disaster, we in privacy, we need to stay firm and still and say, hey, although privacy is not the only issue in AI, obviously, but we know, and when it comes to generative AI, then again, that has specific risks. Confidentiality, copyright, for example, security, sending confidential data and private data outside the organization's own servers. That is a risk in itself. The security risks that may come with it. if the generative AI platform's own system and infrastructure are not secure, then you can have potential data breaches, as it happened on ChatGPT. And of course, now that generative AI has come, and our own organizations decide how to use it, then here we come as privacy professionals. And we say, how are we going to do this? And you know there are different ways of doing it. Some companies will allow use directly via an API, and that has got benefits, because that means that you can have access immediately. And for some companies, they may say, we need speed. Some other companies, they go via, for example, Azure, and they create their own enterprise instance of generative AI, for example, ChatGPT. And that is more safe from a privacy standpoint. You can train your own models based on your enterprise data. And some other companies, not many, they will create their own LLMs, which is, from a privacy standpoint, perhaps the safest. But it's longer, it's more difficult. And only big companies will be able to do that. The governance within organizations will see us privacy professionals at the forefront. In my company, I set up a generative AI task force where we are looking at the responsible user development across the organizations. And we made the bold step of training 250,000 employees. Training them. Doesn't mean like a 5-minute training. That is training in the fundamentals of generative AI and responsible use. The reason why we pushed so much for that is to say these machines and these tools are here to stay. We look at them through the eyes of productivity. Can they help us become more productive? Yes, but only if we do it in a responsible manner. So we rolled out training to 250,000 people. But, of course, it's an ongoing journey. But we, privacy professionals, we will be at the forefront, because we will be the ones saying, okay, what does a data protection impact assessment mean with generative AI? How am I going to assess the data sheets that go into the systems? How am I going to look at the security element? How am I going to mitigate the risks? How am I going to make sure that when people use these tools to generate code, then that doesn't become a major security risk? What are the safeguards that I can put in place? And also, we will be also leading in many organizations on how we make sure that whatever we create, we monitor it. And if it's not good enough, it doesn't meet the objective, if it doesn't meet the values of an organization, that we are able to say, no, this is not going to be rolled out. Now, there is a lot of discussions about legislation around AI. A lot. Every day. The United Nations is saying we need a body similar to the Atomic Agency, because AI, many say, is like nuclear. It could be very good, or it could be very bad, and therefore requires international agreement. In Brazil, there is discussion over AI legislation. And you already have automated decision-making, which is in privacy legislation, demanding for accuracy, especially when it has an impact on individuals. And then you have, in other countries, like Europe, you have the European AI Act, which was approved and now is going to the so-called trialogue, interinstitutional dialogue in Europe. The approach that is being taken is very much the approach of risk, right? So whether it's in Europe where AI is going to be governed as a product, regardless of the sector, or whether it's in the US, where they have a more sectorial approach. For example, the FTC talks a lot about AI and fairness. Whether it's like that, the risk approach seems to be the prevalent one, which is the approach that we accept that AI is there, we are going to mitigate the risks. And of course, the risks go way beyond privacy. Misinformation, disinformation, the generation of fake news, how fast can that be with artificial intelligence? What we've seen in the video, copyright, loads. So what do we do as privacy professionals? And I want to spend the last few minutes talking about what is happening to privacy and what is our job. And this is very much of a conversation that we need to have together. So privacy laws are everywhere. Artificial intelligence is everywhere, bringing benefits, advantages, especially in areas like healthcare, especially in areas where we can detect things from happening way before it's too late, like in medicine. They can enhance our productivity in companies, make our work less boring to an extent. I use some of these tools for example, to summarize documents. I do a lot of work at the intersection between academia and business, and I find it wonderful that I don't have to go through loads and loads and loads of documents to find one specific thing, but I can use generative AI tools to find what I need. And of course, I know that I have to be smart, that I can't just take things that they give me. I have to be smart. I can't do like a lawyer did, where they were preparing for a court case and they asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT completely made it up because ChatGPT hallucinates. And the lawyers took that and said it in court, and the judge was like, "You're an idiot." And you can blame the lawyer, but also you blame the hype around AI that made us believe that it's perfect. But what I'm trying to say here is, as privacy professionals, what do we do? Okay? What do we do? What is our job? How is it going to change at the intersection between privacy and technology? What is the privacy professional of tomorrow? What is the new generation that we will bring up? And this is a question that I've been having for a long time, which is really, what are we becoming? And I'm glad to be here because this is a conversation that we need to have in Brazil as much as we need to have in England, in India, and everywhere. Are we going to become coders? How are we going to bring together the technology and the law? How are we going to operate within companies to help companies innovate in a responsible way? So the first thing that I wanted to say here is that our profession is changing. So privacy is moving away from being a standalone discipline and is becoming a thread that brings together technology in different fields. And this is why we need people from every background together. So the first thing that I would say is, within your own organizations, within companies, is to create teams that are diverse. I don't want a team of privacy leaders where you only have security teams or lawyers, or it's got to be people coming from different backgrounds. We need to be able to have a common language between the lawyers, the coders, the programmer, the change management in HR, the sales teams, because we need to ensure that we can speak the same language. First thing. Second, we need to move from privacy to privacy plus. And I'm sorry to say, but it's a long journey. We have to do it. Become privacy plus. And that means exactly that. That means that we need to understand that privacy now is a threat. We need to understand that we need to be involved in fairness in algorithms. We need to be involved in discussions around transparency and explainability, in automated decision-making in AI. We need to be able to advise and work with our organizations on how to implement generative AI in a safe and responsible manner. But we also need to say it's not just up to us, because the impact of AI is way beyond privacy, of course. Think about the environmental impact, huge on the environment. But it's important that we do take a lead. Privacy, this is what I call this privacy plus. Third, we need to rethink about what privacy means. See, for me, privacy has always been about equality. No more, no less. I started in privacy when I was quite young. But my question was always, privacy for whom? That has always been my question. Privacy for me has never been about the safeguarding of my own data. I'm quite liberal with my own data. Secret. I'm quite liberal with my own data. That's never been my passion. My passion has always been about privacy as it connects with equality. And the panel yesterday went to the heart of that. Yesterday morning, Kathleen. Exactly that. Think of the women seeking reproductive care in the US. Think of the government in the Netherlands, in Europe, where the government used an algorithm for the benefits, distribution of benefits. And that software allocated a higher degree of potential fraud to some families where there was a double citizenship. What is double citizenship? Immigration. So you had immigrant families who had their benefits removed because they were identified mistakenly as more at risk of committing fraud. People went into destitution and poverty, and kids were taken away from the family. This is the impact of inaccurate data. This is the impact of not enough scrutiny of systems. This is the impact of rolling out a system without privacy professionals being involved from the start. Not just privacy professionals, people from every background. Because there is no such thing as an unpredicted consequence of AI. There is only something that hasn't been seen because there were not enough people looking at it. So for me, privacy has always been linked to equality, and this is really important. So if we want, and I finish now, if we want AI and technology to benefit people, we have to stop allowing privacy to be pitched against innovation. And that's the last message that I wanted to give you. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop having privacy pitched against security and safety. They need to go hand in hand. And this is where our work comes in. I would like to see a next generation of privacy leaders focusing on privacy-enhancing technologies. Differential privacy, encryption, how we democratize those so that all companies can use them. How can we avoid misusing data, but how can we avoid missing the right use of data? So we, privacy professionals, we must embrace innovation. Don't be fearful. As I said at the beginning, don't be fearful because we come from the strength of our profession. We know risks, the importance of data, the link between privacy and equality. So we are the ones who can say to companies, don't stop innovation, go for it, but in a way that is responsible and brings together privacy and innovation. And the last thing, to all privacy professionals, we must keep it real. When we talk about AI, we know that the risks are very real. Think of the 32-year-old Portia Woodruff. She's the third black woman in Detroit to be wrongfully arrested due to the use of facial recognition technology. Like many victims of facial recognition technology, she suffered pain, humiliation, emotional distress, and economic damages. Tawana Petty, who leads the Detroit Digital Justice Coalition, argues that surveillance should not be conflated with safety. And she's right. So it is important to understand that we must be proud of our profession because we are at the forefront of this. We know about misuse of data. We know about the opportunity of harnessing data. And it's up to us together, and this is an exercise that needs to bind us around the world. So let's create more links between us. More links between us. From Brazil to India to Europe, we need to work together on this. And be the one, not the ones who are the stoppers, not the negative ones about technology and AI, the ones who actually wanted to work for businesses, for societies, for companies, for us. And in that, let's be at the forefront of this. Because AI has got tremendous potential. But only if we are at the center of the discussions around how AI is going to be used, which data is going to be used, which privacy-enhancing technologies we are going to use so that we can harness the value of this information. This is an exercise that we can do really all together across the globe. And I'm glad to be here today. Thank you to Isadora for inviting me and for everybody. And I look forward to having a conversation.
Muito obrigada, Ivana, pela fala inicial. Até estava conversando com a Raquel aqui, que são tantos pontos que você trouxe que até é difícil selecionar sobre o que falar. Então, a gente vai fazer esse esforço aqui de abordar alguns pontos principais, mas eu queria destacar primeiro a importância do que tu trouxe a respeito da gente priorizar a diversidade em relação às equipes de desenvolvimento, né? E todos os problemas que advêm justamente dessa falta de reconhecimento da diversidade. A gente tem aqui no Brasil algumas iniciativas voltadas especificamente para essa área, e aqui eu posso citar algumas, como, por exemplo, Humanas Digitais, na região amazônica, que aqui no Brasil visa incluir mulheres dessa área na tecnologia. A gente tem o Preta Lab também, com a Silvana Bahia, para conectar mulheres negras também na tecnologia. Então, a gente percebeu muito da tua fala o quanto é importante esse olhar para que essas equipes conjuntamente consigam auxiliar a resolver tantos problemas e tantos riscos que podem advir do uso da inteligência artificial. Que, se, por um lado, ela pode ser boa realmente, por outro lado, a gente tem esses problemas que precisam ser endereçados. E foi muito importante te ouvir falar também sobre o quanto esses posicionamentos, né, que muitas vezes focam num futuro distópico em que as máquinas vão tomar o controle de tudo, como isso talvez importe muito menos do que os problemas que a gente já enfrenta hoje em dia, né? E aí, eu acho que aqui no Brasil especificamente, mas no sul global como um todo, a gente também tem um outro desafio, que é muitas vezes o fato de que, enquanto países do sul global, enquanto países da maioria do mundo, né, se nós pudermos utilizar esse conceito, a gente atua muito mais como exportador de dados, muitas vezes, e como consumidor de tecnologias, e muitas vezes menos como produtores dessas tecnologias, né? Então, para onde estão indo nossos dados? E aí eu faço esse gancho para trazer a Raquel para debater conosco, também porque aqui a Raquel, como membro do IPREC, né, como presidenta do IPREC, é um instituto também que busca trazer essa diversidade, principalmente nesse aspecto regional em relação à inteligência artificial e à tecnologia como um todo, da gente tirar essa discussão, que muitas vezes está centrada também só numa realidade aqui no Brasil, de São Paulo, e levar isso para outras áreas do país, para que a gente possa discutir as diferentes realidades que tem aqui, né? O Brasil, como um país continental, a gente tem realidades totalmente distintas, e é importante que, quando a gente aborde esse debate, que a gente olhe para essas outras perspectivas. E aí eu queria ouvir um pouco mais da Raquel a respeito dessas questões, e também trazer um gancho com uma fala que a Ivana pontuou muito bem, sobre o que a gente quer dizer quando a gente está falando de um relatório de impacto sobre dados pessoais. O que a gente está falando quando a gente está falando de uma avaliação de impacto algorítmico e considerando esses aspectos do sul global, né? Como é que a gente fundamenta documentos como esse, para que eles não sejam só um checklist para empresas, mas que eles efetivamente nos auxiliem a reduzir risco, a reduzir danos. Então, agora a gente vai ter em torno de uns 20 minutos para discussão, aí depois a gente abre para perguntas do público e online. Raquel.
Obrigada. Obrigada, Fernanda. Bom dia a todas e todos. Ivana, muito obrigada pela sua fala, acho que foi enriquecedora muito, e acho que assim aprendi bastante com você hoje. Eu queria pontuar muito essas questões que Fernanda colocou a respeito dessa nossa posição enquanto país do sul global, né? Porque muito se fala sobre diversidade e sobre o uso de tecnologias, e agora a gente vê isso, essa adoção massiva de ferramentas como o ChatGPT, como Ivana estava se referindo, e outras ferramentas de inteligência artificial generativa, mas a gente precisa começar também a se questionar qual é o nosso papel enquanto usuários, primeiro, dessas tecnologias, e o que é que a gente está ofertando para as empresas que estão oferecendo essas tecnologias. Por que isso? Porque a gente está aqui no sul global, né? A gente faz parte dessa maioria do mundo, mas, ao mesmo tempo, a gente acaba consumindo essas tecnologias que são importadas de países do norte, né? A maioria das empresas que produzem essas tecnologias estão situadas no norte global. E, ao mesmo tempo, a gente está usando isso tudo sem fazer uma reflexão crítica sobre isso, né? A gente percebe também um movimento em que países do norte estão meio que fazendo experiências e tentando empurrar essas tecnologias para a gente aqui, né? E aí eu trago o caso da matéria que saiu no início do ano, falando que a OpenAI, que é a empresa que criou o ChatGPT, ela usou trabalhadores quenianos para fazer o treinamento de conteúdo malicioso dentro da ferramenta. Então, eram trabalhadores do Quênia, né, um país do sul global, que foram contratados porque, enfim, pagava-se muito pouco para fazer isso, e eles eram submetidos a conteúdo malicioso, então, de forma massiva, para que eles pudessem indicar à ferramenta que aquilo ali era um conteúdo malicioso, e a ferramenta pudesse fazer o bloqueio desse material, né, para evitar que esse material circulasse ou fosse gerado pela inteligência artificial do ChatGPT. Então, assim, a decisão da OpenAI em contratar esses trabalhadores quenianos para fazer essa tarefa, a gente precisa pontuar que essa decisão é uma decisão política. Por que não foram contratados trabalhadores de outro país ou de um país do norte? Por que se recorreu ao Quênia para fazer esse tipo de tarefa, né? E aí existe, nesse sentido, uma dimensão neocolonial, em que essas empresas estão querendo pagar menos por uma tarefa que não é, entre muitas aspas, não é digna, para pessoas do sul global executarem, né? Tem um outro exemplo que eu queria trazer, que foi de uma matéria que saiu recentemente também no The Intercept Brasil, com a qual eu tive, inclusive, a oportunidade de colaborar. Foi uma matéria investigativa a respeito da Clearview AI, uma empresa que oferece um sistema de reconhecimento facial, que oferece esse sistema de reconhecimento facial como o mais eficaz no mercado. E essa empresa estava fazendo reuniões a portas fechadas com alguns órgãos de investigação do governo federal e de alguns governos estaduais, para tentar oferecer, para tentar vender essa ferramenta para ser utilizada aqui, né? E aí, assim, essa matéria afirma que essa ferramenta da Clearview AI foi banida de alguns países da União Europeia, justamente porque ela não se adequava aos termos da GDPR. Então, a gente tem uma ferramenta que foi banida por reguladores da União Europeia, ou seja, países do norte global, mas está sendo oferecida aqui porque ela não está de acordo com regras de privacidade, não está de acordo com a GDPR, que é a norma vigente na Europa, na União Europeia. Mas, aqui no Brasil, a gente assim, se permite oferecer uma tecnologia dessa, e aí a empresa vem aqui e faz reuniões com autoridades para tentar que essa ferramenta seja adotada no Brasil. Por que aqui a gente não faz exatamente o mesmo movimento de questionar a legalidade do uso dessa ferramenta? Porque é uma ferramenta de inteligência artificial que é treinada com imagens de toda a internet. Ela faz uma varredura geral, assim. Então, se vocês têm o Twitter aberto ou o Instagram aberto, vocês provavelmente estão no banco de dados dessa empresa, dessa ferramenta, porque eles fizeram uma grande varredura da internet inteira. Se apareceu alguma foto de vocês numa matéria de algum site jornalístico, vocês provavelmente já estão com a imagem fazendo parte desse banco de dados. Eu também, né? Mas, enfim, por que esse questionamento não está sendo feito aqui no Brasil, né? Porque, enfim, a gente já vem questionando o uso do reconhecimento facial. Existem campanhas, né, em andamento, a campanha nacional Tire o Meu Rosto da Sua Mira, que questiona o uso do reconhecimento facial na segurança pública, mas é uma iniciativa da sociedade civil, né? Acho que a gente precisa que os reguladores também estejam prestando atenção para o uso, a tentativa de adoção dessas tecnologias que são completamente invasivas, né? Que não respeitam nenhum mínimo aspecto de privacidade da gente, assim, aqui no Brasil. Então, a gente precisa... E aí, assim, a gente está se colocando nesse papel de mero consumidor, né, aqui no Brasil, de mero consumidor dessas tecnologias, sem fazer uma reflexão crítica sobre isso. E aí, também, outros aspectos de desigualdades que precisam ser também levados em conta quando a gente fala de desenvolvimento de IA responsável. O fato da gente estar aqui no Sul Global e não ter acesso às principais discussões sobre o desenvolvimento dessas tecnologias nos faz já estar num lugar de desigualdade em relação a essa discussão. né? A gente não tem o mesmo acesso a esferas de debate ou mesmo a produção, né? A produção, o desenvolvimento dessas tecnologias. Então, a voz do Sul não está sendo ouvida na hora que se desenvolve uma ferramenta dessa. E aí vem enfim, essa empresa como a Clearview AI e quer, inclusive, que essa ferramenta seja adotada aqui para que a nossa imagem, a nossa composição demográfica, né, a composição demográfica brasileira, que é completamente diferente da composição demográfica de países do Norte, seja também inserida nessa ferramenta como material de treinamento de algoritmo mesmo. Então, o fato dessas tecnologias serem adotadas aqui nos coloca também na posição de sujeitos que vão ter a sua imagem inseridas no banco de dados para treinar o algoritmo e fazer com que ele seja mais eficaz, né? Entre muitas aspas também. E aí, eu acho que só para finalizar essa minha primeira intervenção, eu estava, enquanto a Ivana falava sobre o nosso papel enquanto profissionais de privacidade, eu me lembrei de um texto que a gente um ensaio do professor Philip Rogaway da Universidade de Califórnia, que se chama O Caráter Moral do Trabalho Criptográfico. A gente traduziu esse texto no IPREC 2 anos atrás, então tem esse texto traduzido no site do IPREC. E aí, eu queria ler um trecho aqui para vocês desse texto, porque eu acho que eu me lembrei muito assim como ele trata. Ele escreveu esse texto depois das revelações do Snowden, em 2013. Então, ele fala assim, ele é um professor da ciência da computação, especialista em criptografia. E ele falou, a criptografia redistribui o poder. Ela estabelece quem pode fazer o quê, a partir de quê. Isso torna a criptografia uma ferramenta inerentemente política e confere ao campo uma dimensão intrinsecamente moral. As revelações de Snowden motivam uma reavaliação do posicionamento político e moral da criptografia. Eles nos levam a questionar se a nossa incapacidade de abordar efetivamente a vigilância em massa configura um fracasso do nosso campo. Eu acredito que sim. Eu lanço meu apelo por um esforço comunitário que desenvolva meios mais eficazes para resistir à vigilância em massa. Eu apelo por uma reinvenção da nossa cultura disciplinar para atender não apenas aos quebra-cabeças e à matemática, mas também às implicações sociais do nosso trabalho. Que eu acho que isso dialoga muito com o que Ivana estava falando assim, sobre o nosso papel enquanto profissionais de privacidade e o que é que a gente precisa fazer. Como a gente deve dialogar, principalmente, nesse esforço, né, de trazer os advogados junto ao pessoal do desenvolvimento de tecnologias, para que exista uma língua única, para que a gente converse e enfim, fale a mesma língua. É um esforço que a gente, enquanto organização, né, o IPREC sempre teve esse esforço de tentar conversar, apesar de nós sermos quase todos advogados, tentar conversar com as pessoas da computação, os desenvolvedores de tecnologia, e tentar levar para eles essa mensagem de que a tecnologia que eles fazem tem um impacto social e que isso precisa ser considerado. Toda tecnologia que for produzida vai ter um impacto social. E esse impacto social ele precisa ser considerado na hora do desenvolvimento. A gente, né, essas coisas, acho que, como a Ivana falou, a gente não pode desconsiderar mais isso, e a gente precisa caminhar juntos, né? Esses profissionais precisam estar na mesma página sempre. Eu acho que era isso por enquanto, eu fico também à disposição para os debates. Obrigada, gente.
Muito obrigada, Raquel. Eu vou só fazer um breve comentário, antes de passar para a Ivana comentar também, mas eu acho que esse painel está servindo muito para a gente superar essas falsas dicotomias, né, de afastar o pessoal que é da engenharia, da computação, separado de quem é do direito, de quem analisa os impactos sociais, de juntar essas duas áreas, assim como a própria dicotomia entre a regulação e a inovação, né, de que uma não poderia andar junto com a outra, quando, na verdade, uma regulação bem elaborada, construída, principalmente de forma multissetorial, pode auxiliar a todos. Então, passo a Ivana também para ter seus comentários acerca do que a Raquel trouxe.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So, I completely agree with you. I mean, there's so much that you said that it resonates with me. I wanted to say two brief things so that we can have questions. But I wanted to say first, in terms of I mean, you mentioned that you brought in the discussions, Global South, Global North. And you couldn't, I mean, you're right. And I think there is an awareness about this that is growing. The awareness that is also growing is the link between privacy and competition. The fact that it's very difficult to talk privacy without talking about the dominance in the market of large tech companies. Why am I saying this? Because privacy is very much linked to competition, is very much linked to geopolitical dimensions. In Europe, we have a European Commission which is very firm at limiting the power of big companies, big tech. You have a huge amount of legislation going on now in Europe on this. And I wanted to say that over the last few years, I remember a few years ago, I was in Beijing for a UNESCO conference. And the UN is probably the only place where you have a participation from the Global South and the Global North. And with all the limits, but there has been more discussions. And I remember in this conference at the UNESCO in Beijing on AI in education, I remember that there was a Bangladeshi, Bengali minister, saying, we are tired, and correctly so, because of this sort of extractivist model, right, of data collection. And we, because of course, the neocolonialism that you were talking about is a huge topic of discussions at the moment. Which is at the heart of the data extractivist model. And there is a response coming from many countries now, which is really around, hey, we produce a lot of data. We want to use this data for the benefit of our country, right? We are seeing this happening in many countries in the Global South, which is very important. And because you are correct that in bringing up this issue, within that, I wanted to say that the organization that I founded years ago, Women Leading in AI, we co-founded with another organization called Equality Now. We launched a campaign which is called Alliance for Universal Digital Rights, which I would like you to be part of, you all to be part of, which is a campaign we're doing and working with the UN Tech Envoy at the UN to write the Digital Compact. The Digital Compact is going to be published next year, and it is basically a tool which interprets human rights in the age of technology. And the Universal Digital, this campaign is called AUDRI. You can find it online and subscribe, so please do subscribe. We have a strong presence. There are people from all over the world, organizations, governments from all over the world, and majority come from the Global South, with the idea of having a tool like the Digital Compact, which can be used then at country level by courts, by what does it mean? What do human rights mean in the digital age? I wanted to just touch on the issue around representation in coding and programming. Now, An algorithm, an AI tool, is a bundle of data, people, and technology. And because it's three things together, it can't be neutral, no? Technology is not neutral, data is not neutral, there's nothing neutral about it, right? So an algorithm brings together the technology, the people, and the data. Now, if we want to understand what product we are creating, identify the right data that goes into the system, think about the intended and unintended consequence of a system, you need to have a diverse workforce. I'll give you an example, and I close. If I am a company, and I want to use artificial intelligence in recruitment, and I train an AI to identify who is the best employee for me as a company. And I say, the best employee for me is somebody who comes to work on time at 8 o'clock in the morning. On time. Bang on. And I look at the CVs of people that come to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I train my system to find and to spot, to find CVs that have the similar characteristics so that I can find employees who come to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the AI can be very efficient because it identifies these correlations very well. Now, this seems neutral, no? Is it neutral? No. Why? Because if my office is in the center of New York or Paris, the people, or São Paulo obviously, the people who live in the center, right in the center, have got the money. So my workforce will be replicating the people who live near the office. Will it be a single woman with 4 kids? Or is it more likely that is a single white man who can afford to live near the office? Why am I saying this? Bias comes from everywhere. Decisions, data, parameters, choices. If you don't have a diverse workforce, you're not going to understand it. You're not going to identify the issues. So this is why we founded the Women Leading in AI. And these initiatives, they're fabulous. We need women from every background and to really come into the decision-making, but not just in coding. Not just in coding, because you can have the perfect AI and still use it for the wrong thing. So we need more women in business at the top of companies and at the top of government to decide what we're going to use AI for, what we're going to produce. So it's good. You here fight for more women in coding and diversity, but also for more women in leadership positions and in policy, in business, to decide the future of governance around AI.
Realmente, com certeza, muito obrigada pelas considerações. Antes de só passar para o público fazer um rápido comentário, também a gente tem um relatório, inclusive, nesse sentido do que você falou também, Ivana, uma relatória especial da ONU, a Tendai Shulmi, em que ela vai falar sobre, ela tem um relatório sobre discriminação racial em tecnologias emergentes e como lidar com isso, e uma das recomendações dela é exatamente nesse sentido, sobre representatividade, mas uma representatividade que coloque as pessoas, no caso ela fala sobre pessoas negras, em locais de poder, que não seja que elas possam tomar efetivamente decisões acerca do que está sendo produzido, do que está sendo criado. Então é muito importante que a gente tenha também, em todos os campos, na verdade, a diversidade racial, de gênero e outras tanto importantes para a gente conseguir esse desenvolvimento responsável e ético da inteligência artificial. Como a gente está com o tempo adiantado, eu vou abusar, na verdade, como a gente começou um pouquinho depois da gente abrir agora para as perguntas, e aí depois a gente, até 3 perguntas aqui, a gente faz um bloco, com até 3 perguntas aqui no presencial, a gente incentiva o pessoal a participar, trazer as perguntas e aproveitar esse momento, e aí depois a gente abre 7 minutos para cada uma trazer as respostas e também as considerações finais daí.
I will make the question in English. No, don't need it. I like to hear you talk about long-termism, effective altruism, these kinds of ideology that is so popular in Silicon Valley. E para Fernanda. Não, Fernanda é outra. Não, Raquel, isso. Sim, para ela fala em português. Que eu sinto muito coisa de colonialismo digital nas coisas que falam. As pessoas produzem sem querer, Ivana. Por exemplo, o fairness legal, o ambiente legal brasileiro, aqui eu sinto especificamente, é totalmente diferente do europeu e tal. Isso não tem muito sentido aqui. Obrigado.
Ali tem.
Hello, good morning. My name is Isabella. I'm a political science researcher from the University of Brasilia, and I would like to ask Ivana a question. Currently, I have developed a data collector software which filters data into topologies so I may analyze how political polarization affects the discourse and therefore the elections. Sadly, I've had my access restricted by a certain company from America. We can see these big tech companies effectively hindering the works of, not just Brazilian, but Brazilian women. And I would like, what steps may I take and other women like me may be able to take so we may gain access to this data to employ it to benefit our politics? Thank you very much.
Bom dia a todos. Me chamo Walter Duque, represento aqui a OAB do Rio de Janeiro, a Comissão de Privacidade de Dados da Barra da Tijuca. Gostaria primeiramente de agradecer o evento, ao NIC.br e a CGI. Um evento, um espaço no qual a gente consegue reunir a prática com a academia e com as experiências de todos. Isso é fundamental para a criatividade, para que a gente possa aqui criar, então, as perguntas que vão orientar o nosso trabalho e a nossa realidade. Então, muito obrigado. Obrigado aos painelistas por excelente conteúdo. E a minha dúvida é a seguinte, assim, eu sou advogado, não sou programador, enfim, entendo pouco de TI, mas a inteligência artificial realmente é um mistério, os algoritmos são um mistério, e eu queria saber se existe, na sua experiência lá fora, Ivana, se você viu em algum lugar alguma autoridade supervisora criando mecanismos, ferramentas com a própria inteligência artificial para poder avaliar esses algoritmos e esses sistemas que foram criados. Quer dizer, vamos trazer o nosso inimigo para perto e utilizá-lo a nosso favor. Eu acho que a ideia de você ter um agente de tratamento, um profissional de privacidade de dados, inteligência artificial, talvez fosse um caminho. E criar, de repente, parâmetros para a criação de novos sistemas com inteligência artificial que adotassem ali determinados requisitos que possibilitassem essa análise pelos sistemas criados pelas autoridades supervisoras. Então, resumindo, a pergunta é essa, se lá fora já existe alguma iniciativa nesse sentido. Obrigado.
Muito obrigada. Eu vou só pedir para ele... Como é o seu nome mesmo? Felipe, só para repetir a pergunta para a Raquel, por favor.
Meu nome é Felipe Braga, não, Felipe, não. É sobre esse negócio da Que eu senti um pouco de colonialismo na coisa, no discurso, eu reproduzo sem querer, estrutural isso, né? Falou de fairness, que não se aplica ao direito legal, o ambiente daqui, até onde entendo. Bom,
Obrigada. Vou passar para Ivana começar as respostas, daí pode ser em até 7 minutos, depois eu devolvo para a Raquel, então, mais 7 minutos.
Yeah, so I first wanted to start with a question from, what's your name again, the lawyer? So I mean, you raise a very important, you say, I'm a lawyer, and I don't know about coding and programming, right? And I think this will have to change in the future. And I don't say that tomorrow you have to start coding. But mind you, I mean, I started coding at the age of 40, so, I mean, but it's important that I think there are a lot of tools out there that it's important that you familiarize with. And I'm saying this to all lawyers in this room. From Google to Coursera, there is so much materials out there on understanding the fundamentals of AI, and I encourage everyone to look at them. The more we look at these tools ourselves, the more we stop thinking that they are something complicated. They are not. I'm not joking. I mean, I'm serious. Don't fall into the trap of saying, I don't understand of AI. No. It's not complicated. Everyone in this room, and it would be great if next year when you meet again, you say, how many people now know the basics of coding? And if everyone could raise their hands, because it's really important that you understand what is coding, where the data comes in, to understand the legal implications of it, okay? Because more and more, you will be having discussions like, for example, in the future, you will have discussions like somebody who has suffered discrimination because of a machine making a decision. And you as a lawyer will have to go and say, hey, I can't access this algorithm because it's commercially, you can't ask a company to disclose it, right? Correctly, because it's their intellectual property. But you will need to understand that if a decision is made by a machine, that you still have to intervene. We still have to do a job as lawyers. So it's really important that you familiarize with it. Please, everybody, lawyers, do take a course on the fundamentals of AI and then the fundamentals of generative AI. You will realize that the things that I've been talking to you about, like fairness, they are easy to understand, and they are should be already our bread and butter. They're already there. Importantly, even more, when it comes, how will this be impacting things like platform regulations and all of that, because there will be AI in all of this. So we need to familiarize. So please do it. Second, bring your enemy in-house. Yes. So it's important that, so there are tools that can be used, for example, to assess an algorithm, yeah? To look at it, to say, for example, so there are plenty of tools like this in the market, already here as well. But my first step would be really to learn how it works. It's an effort that we lawyers have to make. Understanding the big data, understanding discrimination, how it happens, understanding issues around copyright. How, for example, as lawyers, when we engage with clients, for example, what happens to issues around liabilities when there is artificial intelligence? This is all stuff that will be on your desk all the time. So we can have all the machines, all the AI to help us, but we have to get it first to understand it. Second, and you can drop me an email and ask for what kind of courses they're easy for everybody to understand. It's easy. The other thing I wanted to say is the other remark, because I'm conscious of time, the other remark that I wanted to make is around what I call data activism, right? That and really, so I think we've got an amazing opportunity now, which is around ensuring that we create that awareness around sort of data, around with people, and then that we are able to use data for our own common good. And I think one of the things that I would like to see more, and in the Global South there are loads of wonderful examples of this, around, for example, data collectivism and how we can use this data in data cooperatives, this data in a more sort of proactive way for the benefit of people. So these are the sort of the two remarks that I wanted to make on this.
Muito obrigada, Ivana. Para não perder tempo, eu já passo para a Raquel, então.
Então, você perguntou sobre o conceito de fairness, né? E como isso, como a gente entende isso. Hã? Então, existem conceitos como fairness, accountability, explicabilidade. Todos eles têm sido inseridos pela literatura técnica, né? Existem dificuldades técnicas em si, e existem muitos estudos, na verdade, tentando superar essas barreiras de se aplicar, por exemplo, o conceito de fairness no código de uma ferramenta de IA. E tem muitos trabalhos que estão sendo feitos nesse sentido, assim, de tentar aplicar esses conceitos que estão vindo da área jurídica, do pessoal de policy, para que isso seja inserido no código desses produtos e que eles saiam já de fábrica como se fosse assim, fairness por design, né? Alguma coisa nesse sentido, assim. Mas normalmente a gente trata isso como respeito a direitos, então seria alguma coisa na dimensão de justiça. E aí tem outros desdobramentos, né, como não discriminação, mas isso tudo, enfim, existe uma farta literatura técnica sobre isso, tem alguns entendimentos comuns também de que, enfim, são conceitos que são que a gente busca implementar em ferramentas de inteligência artificial para que ela seja mais responsável, né, por assim dizer. Acho que é isso.
Obrigada, Raquel. Como nós temos um tempo final, eu vou só abrir e pedir para o pessoal colocar mais 3 minutos para cada uma, para vocês trazerem as considerações finais. E aí depois a gente faz um intervalo para voltar às 11 com o painel 6, Tratamento Automatizado de Dados Pessoais, Riscos e Avaliação do Impacto em Sistemas de IA. Aí eu vou passar para a Ivana fazer as considerações finais em até 3 minutos, se possível, por gentileza.
Yeah, so first again, I want to say thank you to everyone. I would like to just focus on a couple of things in these 3 minutes. So first one is that it's on the sort of our profession and the future. And so the first thing that I would like to say is that what we've seen over these 3 days together here is how privacy is becoming more relevant to everybody's life. So the final thing that I wanted to say on this point is really that it's crucial that we work together across the globe, and it's important that we work together across disciplines. And what we really need to do is when we go back to our jobs, whether it's in private practice, whether it's within companies, whether it is to make sure that we take the lead in the adoption of generative AI and AI within the organizations where we work in. And it's not going to be easy because there are challenges that come with these technologies. There are issues around transparency, explainabilities, and all of that. But we, as privacy professionals, we need to be able to master this language. So in our organizations, in our everyday life, create the spaces for this common language between actors. Lawyers need to learn the language of technologists, and technologists need to learn the language of lawyers, because we need to master a language together. If I talk fairness, I need to be able to talk about it with the lawyers as much as I need to talk about it with the technologist. When we look at the product from a design perspective, where the challenge for us as privacy professionals will be privacy by design, fairness by design, regulations by design, that will be the lawyers and the technologists working together. So the privacy professionals of the future, and we can lead on this in this room, are the ones who are going to be able to master both languages. So one challenge could be, do we set up a course for this? What are your organizations going to do in the next few years in Brazil to say, how are we creating these skills? How are we creating these skills? I mean, who is going to create? Universities are not there yet. Correctly so, because there's still the law, and then you have some ethics in some computer science courses. But who is going to be creating these professions that we are shaping? I mean, we are shaping this profession for the years that will come. Can some of you together, the organizations, can we run a course in creating, to really look at intersection between privacy and technology, and how do we bring together, how do we create the privacy professional of the age of AI, for example, where we bring social scientists. We bring, you should be on it. It should be people coming from all backgrounds together to create that profession. So that would be my final remark, which is, it's a great time to be in privacy. Great time. There hasn't been a better time to be in privacy. The things we were talking about 8 years ago, now people talk about them at the kitchen table. People see the impact of technology firsthand. They may not call it privacy, they may not call it fairness, they may not call it, but they know, people know. So this is the exciting time. So my wish is that we are able in Brazil as well, and in Brazil to create this profession. We need it across the world. We don't have it. We don't have it in Europe. We don't have it in America. We're still navigating between the old sort of lawyers and IT specialists. And so take the lead and create this profession. Let's create it together.
Raquel, desafio em 3 minutos também.
Não, vou encerrar bem rapidinho, que eu acho que está todo mundo ansioso para o coffee break, né? Mas, primeiramente, agradecer o convite do NIC, do CGI, na pessoa de Ramon, que foi quem me convidou para esse debate. Eu estou muito feliz de ter compartilhado esse momento com a Ivana. Eu acho que eu aprendi bastante, assim, obrigada por isso, por hoje. E, assim, as coisas que a gente falou aqui hoje, eu queria muito que, principalmente, os formuladores de políticas públicas, os reguladores, ouvissem com atenção, assim, tudo que a gente conversou aqui, que a gente debateu, porque a gente tem processos regulatórios importantes em andamento no Brasil, principalmente o projeto de lei sobre inteligência artificial. Tem alguns projetos de lei que querem autorizar o uso, por exemplo, de reconhecimento facial na segurança pública, que é uma coisa que a gente combate, né, com muita força. Então, eu acho que a gente, assim, essas pessoas que tomam decisões sobre políticas públicas precisavam ouvir muito do que foi falado aqui, para que a gente possa avançar realmente na defesa de direitos, na defesa da privacidade, da proteção de dados, no âmbito de políticas públicas. Então, acho que é isso. Obrigada de novo. Bom dia para todo mundo.
É isso. a moderação fica muito mais fácil com esse encerramento da nossa debatedora, da nossa Keynote. Então, eu queria agradecer novamente ao NIC, ao CGI pela oportunidade e liberá-los, liberá-las para ir até o coffee break e depois a gente retorna às 11h, então. Obrigada.